Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome if you are new. My name is Veronica. So today I'm going to share with you how I make my tortillas, my flour tortillas. You only need 4 ingredients: baking powder, salt, and some type of oil. You can use lard, butter, or oil. I'm using oil today because this is what I have. I'm going to measure everything out, so hopefully I can get a good batch for you guys. I normally make 7 to 8 dozen. I haven't made a small batch in a while, so let's see if this turns out. We will talk more about cooking them once we get to that point. I like my tortillas bland. If you liked yours with a little bit of salted taste to it, you can add a little bit more or a little bit less. This is not going to be a perfect recipe because I don't normally measure anything. I just kind of eyeball everything and toss it in there. So I'm going to make a small batch for you and show you how I make them. And this is just a guide so you can kind of tweak a little bit. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start out by measuring 7 cups of flour. And then we will measure out the salt. I'm trying to measure it here on my palm, and I'm just going to measure it using the measuring spoon. This is 1 tablespoon. And as you can see right here, it's going to be about half a tablespoon of salt. I will have the full recipe linked in the description box below. Next, I am going to measure the baking powder. I'm just going to put it into my palm and try to measure it, and it's about half a palm full. So that is going to equal about 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And you can see my kids are trying to help. And onto the oils. I'm going to use olive oil right now because that is what I have, but I will also measure some lard. If you want to use lard, you can use lard or you can use butter, whatever you have on hand. I'm going to use oil because that's what I like. But if you use lard, it's about a half a cup of lard, a heaping half a cup of lard. And I would use the same amount of butter if you're going to use butter as well. So like I said, I'm using olive oil, so I'm just going to put my olive oil in with my flour and just give it a good mix with my hand. Get all the lumps and bumps out. Next, add the hot water. I did not measure the hot water. Just make sure the water is not boiling water, otherwise you will cook your dough. You just want it hot enough to where it's not going to burn you, just hot water. I didn't measure it, so I'm just going to add in a little at a time. I'd rather have the dough be super doughy and runny than really dry because you can't work with it if it's really dry. So if you make it a little bit doughy, you can add more flour to it, as if you were to make it super dry, it's hard to add water to it. So just make it a little bit doughy and add a little bit of flour to it, and you will see me add flour to it because I do make it a little bit sticky right here. So I'm just going to add some flour to it to make it less sticky. And you knead and you knead and you knead until the dough comes off your hand. You want the dough soft, really doughy. Once it starts to come off your hand, you know you've got the right amount. And I always make it super doughy. Once it's just about the right amount of softness that I like, I will put it on my table and then I will knead it and knead it and knead it again. For at least a good 10 minutes, just keep on kneading it until it's nice and soft and it comes off your hands. It's just about done. See? So I'm just gonna knead it for a few more minutes.
I should use little tape. You just gave me the greatest idea.
So now I'm gonna put it in here and I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna let it rest for a little bit. I usually cover it and let it rest for maybe 10 minutes. My dough is well rested. It's been longer than 10 minutes because baby woke up, so I had to feed him. But anyways, let me show you what the dough looks like now. Of dough. See, it's soft. Okay, but let me show you. While I'm making my balls of dough, I'm gonna heat my griddle up. I normally put between 4 and 5. My stove is an electric stove, but you want this hot before you put your tortillas on there. I usually heat it for about a good 15 or 20 minutes. This griddle, I got this from Princess House a long time ago. You want a good one. This is a good heavy metal one. You just want a good sturdy one. I had bought one earlier from like Ross and it was super thin and it like bent with a heat because you want this on like a medium to high heat. I've got all the kids here. It's Saturday, so you might hear some noise in the background. I also have this one. This works great for cooking tortillas too. I also got this from Princess House. All right. You can add a little bit of flour to your bottom if you want. I've got flour in my pan still, so give it a good knead and start making the balls. I just like to make them small. You can make them as big or as small as you want, and I kind of flatten them out like this. Whoops. And lay them out. I don't know how many dozen this is going to yield. I haven't made this little amount in a long time. Now I've got little man on the bouncer over there. He is just playing. Oh, he's playing with the toys. He's kicking it. Another thing is you want a towel, a kitchen towel, to make sure to keep the balls of dough covered because they will dry out and it's kind of hard to roll or they'll crack when you're rolling them out. So I've got this and I'm just going to cover them. Move this out of the way too. And as I'm making them, yeah?
Mom, you did have to.
Yeah, wash your hands, okay?
But don't you wash my hands?
Okay, well wash them again.
Why?
And then you can help me. And you can make them as big or as small. We like small tortillas.
Not me.
And I put them here and I
not big
cover it.
ones.
You like big ones? Alright, I've got all my tortillas laid out right here, nice and neat. I don't even know how many it's going to yield for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to yield for a good 2.5 dozen. So that's a good amount.
2 and 2.
Okay, so I'm going to keep this covered. And I'm going to show you how I roll it out with my rolling pin. And I'm also going to show you how I roll them out with using this Tortilla Press. It's by Brentwood. I will have it linked in the description box below too if you want to know how to get one. But this is an 8-inch one. I used to have one that was a 10-inch one, which is bigger. And I like that one better, but when I had carpal tunnel surgery, my 10-inch one broke, and my husband ended up getting me. He actually got this in the Phoenix area when he was down there.
Really?
But he didn't realize that he got the 8-inch one instead of the 10-inch one. But it's fine. I just kind of, you'll see me use it how I make my tortillas a little bit bigger than the 8-inch ones. And I will also let you know the pros and cons of getting one of these if you decide to get one, because there's pros and cons to it. But let me show you how I roll them out first. Alright, I've got a small space to work with. Only because my other side of my stove, where there's more counter space, my other side of the stove doesn't work. So I've only got this side, which is the left side of the stove, and the small burner on the right side. And I can't use my my griddle on that side. So I'm going to use this side, and I just work with what I've got.
Mommy.
You can add flour to it. Well, let me show you what I normally do because they've been sitting here for a little bit.
Mom.
I kind of flip them over to kind of dry out because they kind of get sticky. So I just flip them over. You want to help me?
Yeah.
All right. I have a little bit of flour right here. I've got a so if you need to, I just put one side and dab it off.
Okay.
Hold on, Ruby. And just kind of pat it on there. Let me use the big one. And every time I roll it, I flip it over. And I roll it and flip it
And then
the opposite way. Kind of just to get around, to make it kind of round. Oops. What is it?
And then what?
Yep.
I don't know what to do. You all me do that. You know.
Yep.
I know how to do that.
You know how to do that.
Yeah.
And you can make them as thin or as thick as you want. I like them this thin. I have an aunt that makes them super thin, paper thin, and I have another aunt that makes them a little bit thicker. But you can make them as thin or as thick as you want. Anyways, and when I do this, I kind of just put them all over my counter. Hang them on the counter like that. I hang them on my counter, a few of them, until I have like, or over the bowl that I'm using, until I have a good amount, like 5 or 6 of them, and then I'll start cooking them, and I'll show you how I cook them and why your griddle needs to be hot. Okay, just put it right there, okay?
Okay. Let's go.
Yes.
Come on.
Sometimes if it sticks, I'll add a little bit of spray on it, and just once, and that'll be good enough to work. Let's see if it's not. Okay, so it's been heating it's really hot. Oh yes, before I forget, one other thing is that I use this to press my tortillas with. I got this, my father-in-law got me this actually way back, I don't know, 18 years ago. Not even, yeah, maybe like 16 years ago. Anyways, he got this for me in Mexico. You could probably make your own. It's just a press to press it. It's all burnt because I've been using it for that long. You could probably just make your own. It's wooden. And I just press the tortillas with this to cook them evenly. And I've got this other girdle here. I'm just going to I'm going to put my tortillas on here.
Mom, let's pay.
Yeah. So this one is usually the smaller burner. I put this one a little bit lower and this one a little bit higher. I let it cook up a little bit and let it bubble. And I grab it
Mom.
and flip it on the other opposite side and let it cook, and then okay, and I put it right, and I put another one down here, and I let that bubble just a little bit, and then I'll press it. Yeah, maybe it wasn't hot enough. See how it's bubbling? And let it rest for a second or two and press on it. And make sure it bubbles. Sometimes they don't bubble. See how it's bubbling right there? And it's cooked, and I put it down, and I put this one here. And I add another one, and see how it's starting to bubble? That's when I start to press it. That is how you are going to get a soft tortilla. If it does not bubble, your tortilla, and you press it, it's going to be hard. Wait.
Do you
And I only made 3, so yeah. Make sure it bubbles up. I might need to be a little bit hotter because see how they're kind of white? I like my tortillas to be a little bit browner. If it puffs up, you will get a soft tortilla. If it doesn't puff up, your tortilla is going to be a little bit rougher. So now I'm going to use my tortilla press right here, and I will share with you the pros and cons to this, but this does need to heat up a little bit, so I'm going to let it heat up for a good 10-15 minutes. And I went ahead and cranked mine up to about between a 5 and a 6, and I already told you that my stove is electric. So I've got this thing heating up right here, and this should indicate that when it's green, it should be ready to go. And this has been going on for like 10 minutes literally, so it's really hot. See how it turns on and off? All right, some pros and cons to this. The pros, you can get them done quick. It's easy to use. You can press a whole bunch of them in a matter of minutes. The cons, when you put your tortilla in there in the tortilla press, if it's too hot, it's gonna slide back and you have to position it. If you hold it too long, it's gonna cook the tortilla. And when you put it on here, it will cook it too much, and when you put it on the griddle, it won't, it'll be tough. And another thing, and this is the major one, when you cook the tortillas, they are a little bit chewier. They're kind of chewy, and you can tell the difference when you roll them out and you use them on here. But they are a little bit chewy when you use the tortilla press. My family does not mind. They'd rather have a chewy tortilla than no tortilla. Most of the time, I use this thing. Let's get started. Let me show you what I mean when it gets, let's see, let me put it this way. And it gets really hot, so be careful. There's my tortilla. Oh, it didn't slide this time, but it does get them pretty round. And see how I like my tortillas a little bit bigger than 8 inches? I kind of just press them until they come out of the sides. And what I like to do, ooh, hot. They are very hot, so be careful. I put them on another plate, and I make about, I don't know, I make a whole bunch of them, and then I'll start cooking them. See if another one slides, because they usually do. This one does, it's not sliding because it's sticky, but if I put it on this side, watch. Oh, it didn't slide. Funny, because most of the time they will slide. Probably because of the flour that's still there. If you press it too hard, it will start to crack like this because it kind of cooks them. Funny how I talk about sliding and they don't slide. But this one does make them a little bit thicker too, which is fine. My family doesn't mind. As same as the other time, you just put them down, flip them over. It's a little bit hotter than the last time. Ooh. See how they're a little bit more brown? Let them bubble up a little bit and then push it down. Ooh, hot. I guess you could use a spatula if you needed to flip them over. I never have. It looks pretty simple, but this took me years to get it right, to get the tortillas round and to get the ingredients just the way we like them. It took me at least a good 2 years of making them every week, 2 to 3 times a week, and I finally mastered it, and I finally got them to the way everyone likes. And there you have the tortillas. Now, before you put them in the refrigerator, you have to let them cool. Whoops, I left one out. Let me roll this one out real quick. I thought I was done. So before you put them in the refrigerator, you have to let them cool down completely. I usually let them cool down. And then I will put them in a plastic Ziploc bags and put them in the fridge. If you make a whole bunch like I do, I usually keep 2 or 3 dozen in the freezer and take them out as I need them, because you can also freeze them cooked like that, or you can freeze the balls of dough. You have seen me take out my balls of dough already frozen and just thaw them out and roll them out like normal. Okay, let me show you how I put mine so they can cool down. Until right here. There you go. Okay. And I just kind of do that. Kind of let them cool down like this, and you can, someone took a bite out of that one. Anyways, and every once in a while I will come over and just grab like a whole bunch and flip them over so they can just be really cool down before I pack them up in bags. And now the taste test. My kids were eating them, so they must be good, right? Like I've said before, my tortillas are bland. If you like a little bit of salt, maybe try adding a whole tablespoon of salt. I think we added 1 tablespoon of salt. Try adding maybe 2 if you want them a little bit saltier. To me, they're fine. To my kids, they're fine. I hope this video was helpful. And there I put my my tortillas in a plastic bag. I usually put about 1.5 dozen in a bag, but this is all that was left after all said and done, which is about 1 dozen. And that's how I store my tortillas. My husband actually came home from work real quick. He's working here in town and grabbed a whole bunch of, he grabbed about 1 dozen tortillas. And I was like, do you want me to make you some burritos? He's like, nope, I gotta go. I've gotta go back to work. So he came, grabbed a bag, a handful of tortillas, and took it. So I'm assuming it's going to be for him and my son and the other people that are working with him. Which is fine, because that's what my tortillas are for eating. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know if you try this recipe. Let me know if it works out for you. So, yes, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you haven't already. My videos are normally day in the life type of videos. I normally don't make any of these type of videos, but this was a highly requested video and I thought I would share how I make my homemade tortillas. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.